What psychological trick/fact have you learned about people? You can mostly always become automatically liked no matter what you brought to the table as long as you keep the conversation about them. The more you remember and are invested in little details in their life or something as simple as getting their name right and showing interest for the first meeting, the more they're endeared to you. So, oftentimes you can take the pressure off yourself by putting the focus on them because they usually run with it. People who feel bad about themselves/have low self-esteem seek validation by bringing down others. I used to not really believe this when I was a lot younger, but as I got older I realized that people who bully/pick on other people on the inside hate themselves and are insecure because no happy person would go out of their way to make other people feel bad, unless it's deserved. I was told to do this when I started bartending at about 22 years old. And I've found it useful in every professional, and sometimes social, situation since then, 20 plus years later. As a woman, whenever I talk to a male/female couple I make sure to focus on the woman and look at/talk to her a bit more. This helps reduce any worry from her that I'm trying to move in on her man. And if I charm the woman, the man almost always follows and finds me charming as well. If you want to hide something, like if you broke something but you could it back together and just don't have the time at that second, keep it out of sight and talk to the person you're trying to hide it from. My parents are mentally abusive, so I've had to use this before so they don't get mad. All I have to do is talk to my dad about the game he likes and talk to my mom about her garden. They are so busy with the conversation that they don't think about the thing you broke. Also, if you want to make someone uncomfortable, just stare at their forehead. Not in the eyes. Just stare slightly above, or at, their eyebrows. What's your favorite show at the moment on Netflix? That Murdaugh miniseries was pretty neat. I even got the ending spoiled halfway through it and I wasn't even mad. Physical 100. A Korean competition show of physical strengths with participants who have participated in the Olympics, nationals, etc. Makes you want to work out. Is Supernatural still streaming on there? I believe so. The first 5 seasons are some of the best television I've ever seen. Maybe plus 24 in its early years. SPN went on for too long, but boy, in its prime, it was unique, badass and awesome. I'll Live and Die by Daybreak. Yes, it's campy. Yes, its writing is cheesy and objectively bad. Yes, I can believe it got cancelled. But charm, boy, it has that in spades. I haven't had a show so easy to watch since I was a kid. Formula 1, Drive to Survive. Being an automotive industry/motorsports guy, I've always casually paid attention to F1 but never sat down and watched a race. I've just loved the engine and suspension tech. Especially recently with the addition of electric hybrid systems. This show has me hooked. What goes into these races is incredible. Ragnarok is good if you put subtitles on. Great story about the gods and giants. The Last Kingdom is the perfect binge show. 5 seasons. About 10 episodes per season at about 55 minutes each. It'll keep you going and it's amazing from start until end. I just finished Chromosome 21. It went viral on Twitter because people were making fun of the premise. A young man with Down syndrome is accused of murder, but it's actually a really solid show. It's a Chilean show, so it's in Spanish. But I watched with subtitles so I could keep up. It's kind of a slow burner, but it gets really good. Emo. What do I tell a friend who is regretting getting married after 3 months? What can you tell him? He knows better. Hess just venting. He knows what he can do. He knows how fucked he is based on his options. Just support him so he doesn't do something stupid. Maybe see if he can possibly get his marriage annulled. Female perspective, if I may. I would ask him what's going on. This is a very worrying turn of events. If it's not clear or he thinks it's him, I would recommend he talks to a mental health professional about the way he's feeling. From your comments, it sounds like he has some social issues. A psychologist could probably help with this. And always be there to listen to his troubles. Let him talk to me and try not to take sides or have an opinion. Just be supportive of him. I fucking told you. You old bastard, you should've just Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawned it, but no, you had to put a ring on it. What's wrong? Walls closing in? You only own half of your shit now? She doesn't want to be so sexually free anymore? I told you, sucker. It was a ruse. Shoulda never mentioned your 401k. You thought she just all of a sudden turned into some sex goddess that was free and fine with having a third in the room. No, she got you hook, line and sinker and now you're stuck till you die. I told you. I told you. I told you. And quat. Look man. Week in week out I hear you telling me you made a mistake in marrying her. I gotta ask. Are you actually happy in this marriage? And if the answer is no, then I think it's high time something changes in your marriage. Address the problems and move forward together, or call it quits if you can't. This shit is clearly draining you. And if you feel this unhappy now, then it's up to you to decide if this is what you want your future to look like. And quat, is what I'd say. But that's just me. Why isn't cannabis-induced psychosis talked about more? Epic level bad trips are definitely not fun and might leave you scarred. But isn't psychosis believing the intrusive thoughts without being aware they are not reality? If I compare my worst cannabis trips with the time I overdid them and ended up in full-blown psychosis, the fact that I knew that I had smoked too much and the knives cutting through my head were only in my mind differentiates it from walking around disoriented, seeing and talking to people who weren't there. Unable to understand that if they vanish when focused on them, they aren't real. This isn't talked about nearly enough. Unfortunately, due to the war on drugs and the negative misinformation being spread about cannabis for decades, we culturally lack proper information about the substance, and most negatives are attributed to negative propagandist talking points more so than empirical data. Marijuana is generally not good for people and has many negative qualities associated with it, which is generally downplayed by or completely omitted by cannabis legalization advocates, growers, sellers, dealers, etc. I hope we can one day have reasonable discussions so individuals can make informed decisions without political/financial persuasions on the matter. It doesn't sound ridiculous. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder after weed-induced psychosis and derealization. I had symptoms of the disease before I started smoking. But the horrible symptoms of psychosis and derealization were triggered by smoking. I was also a daily smoker with no issues until literally the single time. It was like a light switch was turned on and I only tried pot again maybe 3 times after same issues. Have you seen anyone in the mental health field after this happened? Weed can trigger underlying diseases like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. I hope you're feeling better now. Sometimes weed just doesn't mix well with certain people.